During the last half hour, I, together with senior cabinet ministers, had a very fruitful working session with the Secretary General and his team, at which we discussed matters of crucial importance to our country. Amongst other issues we discussed were the challenges faced by Mauritius as a middle-income country. As you already know, middle-income countries are finding it more and more difficult to obtain grants and concessional loans. Because traditional donors and financial institutions consider us as being too rich for that kind of support, it is as if we have to be penalized for our success and hard work. I explained to the Secretary General and his team that in my own Vision 2030, I have laid down a path for development which will prop us to the next level as a high-income country. In this venture, I have asked the Secretary General to bring his support in helping devise a strategy for tailor-made support other than grants and concessional loans for countries like Mauritius. These would include support institutional building, capacity building, technology transfer, establishing a regulatory framework for private sector as well as attraction of private investment. We also had an exchange of views on the specific challenges faced by seats on account of the inherent structural vulnerabilities. We made a plea for the full implementation of the Barbados Programme of Action, the Mauritius Strategy for the further implementation of the Barbados Programme of Action, and the recently adopted Samoa Pathway. All these represent important blueprints for the development of seats. We emphasized the need for the steering committee of the Samoa Partnership Framework to be in place quickly in order to assist in the monitoring and implementation of the Samoa Pathway. Appreciation for the successful outcome of COP21. As you know, we are among the first 15 countries which have ratified the convention at the time of its signature last month. I urge the Secretary General to keep the momentum through his contacts with world leaders to ensure that we reach the required number of ratifications to allow the entry into force of the convention. We also discussed the need for adequate financial support to enable the implementation of adaptation and mitigation measures against climate change, as well as our intended nationally determined contribution. We have equally sought more simplified procedures for seats to access funds under the Green Planet Fund. Finally, on the implementation of the SDGs, we have reviewed the process of monitoring and follow-up of the outcome of SDG Summit of last year. As you are aware, we have set up a coordinating committee at senior officials level comprising all ministries for that purpose. Non-state actors will also be able to participate in that process. We have requested the Secretary General to impress upon donor countries to live up to their commitment, since without financial support, it would not be easy to achieve the goals set.
Bonjour, mon bien content visit sa jolie pays, Maurice. Let me begin by thanking the government and people of the Republic of Mauritius for their warm welcome and solidarity. I'm very pleased to be visiting Mauritius for the first time as Secretary General. I'm here to highlight the important leadership role that Mauritius plays among small island developing states, as well as its contribution in many areas, including climate action, promoting the ocean economy, and advancing sustainable development. I look forward to visiting Apravasi Ghat and Le Monde cultural landscape tomorrow, two sites that are inscribed on UNESCO's World Heritage Site and that shine a light on the history, consequences, and lessons of the slave trade. I'm impressed by Mauritius' achievement in socio-economic development and in consolidating democracy. Mauritius met almost all the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, and is regarded as the most competitive economy in sub-Saharan region. I am confident that Mauritius's leadership role and impressive socio-economic performance will also be instrumental in promoting women's economic empowerment and strengthening gender equality. I warmly welcome the signature and ratification of the Paris Agreement on climate change. Mauritius was among the first 15 countries who deposited its instrument of ratification at the same time of signing the Paris Agreement on April 22nd in New York. Mauritius will continue to have an important leadership role in its implementations along with other states, and this ties into the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. I commend the government of the Republic of Mauritius for already taking a step forward to develop its economic vision 2030. Taking this opportunity, I would also like to congratulate Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim in her role as co-chair of the United Nations High-Level Panel on Water. Mauritius has much to offer the world, and in particular, Africa, by way of promoting peace, maintaining unity and national identity while respecting the diversity of its people. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to visit Mauritius as Secretary General of the United Nations and to further strengthen our ties. I think during the last 10 years and most recently for 5 years, international community has shown a strong commitment and the solidarity and most importantly vision in the form of Sustainable Development Goals with the 17 goals. And that will make sure that by 2030 there will be nobody who will suffer from abject poverty, and there will be nobody left behind. Everybody will be put toward sustainable path together with our planet Earth. That's a very important vision. Of course, this is the first year for implementation. United Nations will make sure that this will be implemented. Another important vision and commitment is, of course, the climate change agreement, which was adopted in Paris last year. Prime Minister and I have discussed at length, and he also expressed his strong commitment as leader of this country to bring all these two visions full implementation. There is, again, the very important achievement or a trend that the United Nations has been putting the human rights up front. You know that there are many people whose human dignity and human rights have been abused and violated, and there has been a lot of discrimination based on race and religions and belief and whatever, even the different sexual orientations. UN, while addressing peace and security issues, development issues, and human rights, we take human rights up front. Whatever we carry on, we take human dignity and human rights as #1 priority. There may be some occasion when people can enjoy prosperity, but without the full respect for human rights, it's not the real sense of prosperity.
what is your assessment for security is concerned in this region? And how do you envision the role of Mauritius as a small island country in this region and in the world?
So one of my priorities was dealing with and addressing the concerns and plights of small island developing states. Now, having visited the Seychelles and now Mauritius, I'm going to visit tomorrow Madagascar. This gives me a good sense of appreciation how the countries like small island developing countries, Mauritius, can make impact to UN's and global visions and global commitment. I have seen during the last 10 years as a Secretary General many such occasions when the voices and the visions of small island developing countries have been well respected and carried out. For example, it was in Mauritius in 2005, this Mauritius strategy was adopted through an international conference on how to address the concerns and plights of small island developing states. That was built upon 2 years ago in Samoa, in the form of Samoa Pathway. So there is good systems and framework to address the concerns. And now, this area again, you have been suffering a lot because of securities and crimes, organized crimes, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and particularly piracy. And I really appreciate the Mauritius government for their strong commitment in addressing these piracy issues. I think you are a member of a contact group on piracy off the coast of Somalia, and your active participation in this really helped the international community in reducing, or if not totally eliminating, this piracy. Since 2013, there has been no such cases when shipping vessels have been hijacked by pirates. But it has not been totally eliminated, and there should be more support. Mauritius has been an active chair of Indian Ocean Forum on maritime crimes. And this I really appreciate.
Excellency, you spoke earlier about human rights. Can we know what your views are about the Chagos issue?
We discussed this matter, and we've been following this matter closely at the United Nations, and your Prime Minister has been discussing and raising this issue at the United Nations at the multilateral forum. In fact, the United Nations does not take a position on such matters when it comes to territorial issues, but I understand that Mauritius instituted proceedings against the United Kingdom on arbitral tribunal established under the Annex 7 of the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. The legal question before the arbitral tribunal related to establishment by the United Kingdom of a marine protected area around the Chagos archipelago. I sincerely hope that as I talked to Prime Minister, that I was pleased that the parties have agreed to resolve this issue through the mechanism in accordance with the United Nations Charter and UN Convention of the Law of the Sea. I hope there will be peaceful resolution through dialogue.